You know, you and I have talked now for years about this concept of decoupling versus more integration. Of course, the pressure on President Trump from Wall Street and from the corporatists, and especially Silicon Valley, is more integration. And obviously, the anti-CCP aspect of our movement is we want to decouple. And now that decoupling is kind of, you know, Marco Rubio's there, Waltz is there, some of his advisors. Why is this Taiwan semiconductor deal, how does that play into that, and particularly given this executive order that really didn't get much coverage that happened a week or so ago, ma'am?
Well, it's essentially the same voices, right? Whether it's Wall Street, big business, all these politicians that are compromised by the Chinese Communist Party that we've documented for years, that were telling us that tariffs didn't work. And now all of a sudden you see a huge investment, as you were talking about, $100 billion, 5 factories in Arizona coming from obviously TSMC. But I think that the whole sort of chip semiconductor argumentation that you've always sort of heard come really from the deep state talking point has always been, this is why we need to stay engaged in Ukraine, right? Because we're going to set a bad precedent, and we really need Taiwan because of semiconductors, because of these chips, right? The United States economy could potentially crater overnight if China were to ever invade. And I think similar to perhaps President Trump's out of the box, conception of what to do with Gaza, this is another solution to a problem which involves reshoring the American manufacturing, not just to achieve supply chain dominance and security, but to effectively, I think, pull the rug out from under the Chinese Communist Party in terms of negotiating tactics. But I also think the numbers here too, Steve, are just staggering. It's been about 1 month since President Trump has been in office. They've already courted $1.7 trillion in foreign investment. It took the Biden regime 4 years just to get up to $1 trillion. And frankly, a lot of that FDI was riddled in sort of the Hunter Biden, foreign corrupt pay for play. The difference is that I think President Trump represents negotiations not from this, perverse geopolitical equity stance where we have to act like we're not the American hegemon that we are, but that we sort of have a might, an economic might to throw around. And the key difference here, Steve, is that now we're weaponizing our government, our economy, our United States dollar on behalf of the American people instead of against them. And obviously President Trump has staffed his cabinet, his administration with people who are China hawks, who are CCP hawks. And I think for so long, every guest we've ever had on the show, you and I have always sat there. We've seen this sort of performative activism, right, coming from the rhinos who talk so tough on China, how we need to decouple, yet when push comes to shove, right, just like these fiscal hawks who did nothing about the USAID orgy of spending, President Trump actually acts and is working to decouple them by taking this, I think, really, really monumental step in the semiconductor industry, which then, of course, has a lot of trickle-down effects. But this is what decoupling, or at least the opening salvo of it, looks like.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
Download Get It right now.